Good afternoon. My name is Rita Montgomery, and we are sitting here in the Inn at 213 17 Mile Drive in Pacific Grove, California. And I have the pleasure of having an interview with Dr. Hew Len, and present with me also is Rick Moss, Dr. Rick Moss, and Marvin Greeno. We have some questions. I have some questions of Dr. Hew Len. Please tell me, how do I pronounce your first name? Is it Haleakala? Is that right?
It's E-A-L-E-A-K-A-L-A. E-A-L-E-A-K-A-L-A.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to speak with you, especially about some of the ideas that you bring up in the book Zero Limits, written about you by Joe Vitale. And perhaps you could start out by explaining a little bit about this idea of 100% responsibility for oneself, and an entirely different idea of what the self is according to the system that you speak about.
Well, I think Shakespeare said it better than I. If you read Sonnet 146, Shakespeare says, "Poor soul." And so Shakespeare is saying the basic idea is that there are tragedies in our lives because we don't take a look at where the origin of the problem is, and it's always in self. So the tragedy being in life is that we're clueless and we repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And so when I work at, for example, when I worked at Hawaii State Hospital, working with people killed, raped, and murdered people, I had to ask the question, what is going on in me that I am experiencing this? I'm experiencing a patient being violent, I'm experiencing staff going crazy, and that sort of stuff. And so having to take 100% responsibility for that. What's going on in me that I'm creating this experience? And so I just do this cleaning, and the cleaning, the Hooponopono, is about going into the self, and specifically into the subconscious, and where the data is. And since everything is run by information, so that the information in my subconscious is dictating to me what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing. It's like in Shakespeare's Tempest, where Miranda says, "Oh, woe is me to see what I see." So Miranda has this insight that she's only seeing with data. And so it is with me, and so it is with all of you. And so I just work on the data in me that I experience as, quotes, the other person. So if I see you as being crazy and goofy, it's only my experience of you. If I erase that, you can't be that way. Not possible. And so that's what I mean to be 100% responsible. Being 100% responsible is taking responsibility for what is going on in you that you experience of whatever.
Could I ask you to clarify just a little point? You said, what is it in me that is experiencing this?
Yeah.
Could you clarify what you mean by experiencing? Do you mean perception?
No, I don't even mean that. Perception is really a end product or consequence of data playing in the subconscious. So again, coming back to Miranda is saying, I only can see what I see because the data is seeing what I see. So Miranda is really speaking what Shakespeare says, the mind is just a stage, and the data runs around on the stage, and the data is really what is going on. And so if the data is such that I'm experiencing suffering, or I'm experiencing people being goofy, then I have to be responsible for that. What's going on in me, and it's simply data playing, and more specifically memories replaying in the subconscious. And those can be erased.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is probably the most profound thing about this Hooponopono, is that you could erase data.
Could you give us an example of what it feels like or looks like for data to be erased, or is that not something that can be done in this kind of setting?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Could you give us an example of cleaning? I mean, how do we erase the data within our own minds?
Well,
is that something that could be
Yeah,
discuss.
of course. You can teach it, trees can do it, cars can do it, anybody can do it. But the idea is the most fundamental question one needs to know is the question, who am I? And most people have no idea about who they are and therefore are not allow the data in them to speak for them, as opposed to choosing to not have the data by erasing it. And so it's coming back to great sages like Jesus. Jesus said, love your enemies, and your only enemy is the memory plane that you experience as a judgment, anger, resentment, hate, annoyance. And so the Hooponopono is about falling in love with the data and saying to the anger, I love it, saying to the memory that replays the anger, I love you, thank you for showing up, and giving you one more chance to free you. And so the Hooponopono is just simply saying, I love you, thank you.
When the data is erased, what is the self that remains? Is it a unique self that is God created? Is it individuated, or is it just pure self?
So let me come back at you. So I would ask you, who's talking? Who's asking the question?
Well, that would be the data, and
Yeah.
because the other part of me would know the answer to that.
Yeah, but I'm saying since the data is talking, you can erase the data. So I'm saying to people, no matter if you have questions, you'll never be able to get at what is going on because the data is running you. And the idea is to get to see, we historically have come from this notion that you can decode things. So the Greeks come along and Greeks said, well, let's examine, let's analyze. But the Hooponopono is not about examining or analyzing. Hooponopono is about letting go of the data. So when the data is erased, you are what Buddha called in the space of void, or what Shakespeare calls you're in the state of blank. And it is when you are in that state of emptiness, void, and blank, then this inspiration comes through. What quantum physics called the phantom force of nothing.
So it's a state of nothingness?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, it's a state of nothingness that you're
But
describing?
you have to really be careful because one has to be as precise as possible.
No thought? No words?
No, not no thought, no data plane. So what does that mean to have no data free? That means you're free. You're absolutely free when no data plays. And it's only at freedom, or I'll use another word, clarity. Clarity is defined as no data playing. No data meaning no memory replaying in the subconscious that one experiences. So let's say you get the mind back to zero. This is what Jesus called the stone or the foundation. And only on that foundation then can you build something. And then out of that foundation comes the inspiration. And so you are moved by perfect information as opposed to being using dead information. Because most of the time we're dead. Because we without realizing, we're stuck in old data and we're dead. And the Hooponopono is about releasing the death and the debt. So we basically have a mortgage on our souls, and we don't even know that. And because we're not conscious of it or not even aware of it, we're stuck in it, and we're just going to suffer. And it doesn't have to be so. That you can erase the data back to zero, and at zero, out of nothing comes this phantom force of inspiration. New data, brand new.